Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. And today you are going to see some absolutely thermonuclear polling. Now, listen, sometimes we get big signals, we get interesting signals, but today you're going to see one that I was absolutely stunned when I saw the crosstabs because it just absolutely lays bare the lies that are being said in the headlines. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this Epstein situation, which, in my personal opinion, is not going away. I've had a lot of attacks about it over the last couple of days on Twitter. But here's the thing. I'm not doing this because of my opinion. I'm doing this because of the Americans' opinions, and they are super pissed right now because they do not like what is happening. Now, to catch up on recent events, listen, if you want to play by play, go find a different video. We're here to talk about the polling. But basically, Donald Trump came out with that super huge truth post and said, nope, nothing to see here. We're not going to do this. Case closed. Pam Bondi's awesome. And all of a sudden, other people in the media, people who are Trump administration adjacent, I guess, are trying to circle the wagons and say, yeah, it's time to move on. But nobody asked the voters, and we did. But here's the latest news. And apparently, I guess yesterday, just in from Nick Sorter, Dan Bongino was at the FBI offices today, fulfilling his duties as deputy director per CNN. Great news. Yeah, I guess I'd almost rather like to hear what Dan Bongino has to say about what's going on in the FBI. But Nick says Dan Bongino must stay put at the FBI. This is a reversal from last Friday, where it was widely reported that there was a lot of conflict between Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi about the handling of this situation. So it would appear to be that, I guess, the relationship has been mended. How permanent is that? I don't know, but my understanding is that JD Vance was helping behind the scenes to heal the rift. But paradoxically, Politico reported this. Lara Trump says the White House needs more transparency on Epstein. President's daughter-in-law said she expects the files to be released soon, and this is reported yesterday evening. So this is breaking news. Lara Trump, President Donald Trump's daughter-in-law and former co-chair of the Republican National Committee, said the White House needs to show more transparency in its handling of the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This is what I've been saying. You can't just trust me, bro, and make this go away. Epstein's been in the news forever, and it is a symbol of two-tiered justice. The president's handling of the Epstein case has roiled his political base, a lot of it, yeah, after top Justice Department officials reneged on commitments to release investigation files. The rift threatens to alienate supporters who have clamored for the documents. Lara Trump said in a podcast interview that she believes the administration will release additional documents from the Epstein investigation and hopes it will happen soon. Here's the thing. People don't really want the list. People know that there is probably a list of people. Maybe it's not Epstein's list. It's probably the FBI's list of people who are persons of interest into child predator behavior, quite frankly. And that's what Americans want. Americans only want the list from the FBI and the Trump administration because they do not trust their federal agencies. In a perfect world, what would happen is that the federal agencies would just investigate and arrest these people. So if Trump wanted to make this go away, all he has to do is announce an investigation. Have Kash Patel come out and say, yeah, you know what? People do care about this. They don't like all of their financial elitist betters getting away with child rape. We're going to spend some of that $11 billion a year that we spend on the FBI investigating these people instead of school board mama bears, instead of pastors who are going to anti-abortion events, instead of January 6th grandmas. As far as I know, all of those things have been investigated more than the Epstein Island predators. And yeah, I acknowledge the fact that this list probably has innocent people on it. I acknowledge the fact that the FBI has probably destroyed or tainted some of the evidence. Well, guess what? Investigate and get more evidence. How hard is this? But I want to reiterate this very important point. You never see a 100% number in polling. Never. I've never seen a 100% number. This is one of the highest numbers I've seen. How important is the rule of law? Ensuring that public officials are held to the same standard of justice as other citizens. 82% very important. People wouldn't even say oxygen is 82% very important. 12% somewhat important for a combined total of 94%. Literally everybody, every age, every gender, every race. Democrats, 84% very important. Republicans, 80% very important. Everybody thinks it's important. 95% of everybody. It's incredible. This is the problem. It's not that the people wanted a list, didn't get a list, and so a campaign promise was broken. Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp. 67% of voters agree that it's time to drain the swamp. And when you let all of those powerful people just skate with something that everybody else would not only get thrown into jail, but get brutalized by the other prisoners for, like, this is a problem. Americans are rebellious people at heart, and they don't like being ruled by scumbags. And before I get to the absolute stunning Epstein polling, I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is an issue. Trump's approval numbers. Are they that bad? No, they're not that bad. In fact, today's result isn't even the lowest of his term. But let's take a look. As of today, Donald Trump has a 47% approval rating. It's a few points higher than Joe Biden left office with, but it's not great. 51% disapprove for a net -4. And I will note that Right Track is holding up with a 44%. Republican approval is still above 80, 81%. Joe Biden was often in the 70s with Democrats. Democrat approval is down to 23 now, lower than it's been. But look at that independent column. No bueno. 39% independent approval rating, 58% disapprove for a negative 19 points. That's not good. That's not good at all. Donald Trump was winning with independents in our polling in the fall. So this would be over a 20-point loss. Really not good. And black approval is now under 30%. He lost the black approval 30 handle last week, and he's going to be probably in the 20s now. And here's the chart, and it is really not good. This is the net approval comparison of the first year of Trump 1, Trump 2, Obama 1, Obama 2, and Biden. And it really looked like Trump was going to break through those Obama numbers, but he took a hard southward turn 3 weeks ago, and it's been look out below. Look at how bad that number is. Net -4 is 1 point away from his lowest, -5 that he hit in the middle of April. But here's the thing, in the middle of April, what was happening? The market imploded 15%. What's happening now? Donald Trump just signed his signature legislation into law. These numbers should be soaring right now, and yet they're plunging. And look at that shape. It looks like we're in the summer of disillusionment where Donald Trump's numbers trace the same old path that everybody else did. They get to July and August, and it's look out below. I just thought this one was going to be different. It's going to have to be different if Republicans plan on keeping a majority in the House and Senate. And that's the thing. Donald Trump's numbers probably are going to recover. They're probably going to come back up, and his approval rating is probably going to be higher again than Obama 1, Obama 2, Trump 1 for sure, and also Biden probably. But this could also be Trump's Afghanistan, the thing that literally just imploded everything, and it was all downhill from there. I mean, it's almost a complete overlay of what happened with Biden, just offset by a few weeks. So who knows? I think his numbers are going to go up. But is Donald Trump kicking around at 49, 50% going to be enough for the Republicans to hold the House and the Senate, especially when generic ballot polling is at D+2 right now? That's really where I think it is. I think in the Real Clear Politics aggregate, it's like D+3 or 4 right now. Republicans have to be up by a couple points if they want to maintain a majority. That's just the way it works. That's the electoral math. We are not in that situation right now. So unless something changes, it looks like Donald Trump, because of things like this, potentially will lose the House and the Senate. And again, you could say, all right, well, that happens. That's what happens to the party. The incumbent party loses. But is this just another cycle? You know, after they tried to throw Trump in jail and he had an assassination attempt, and where the Democrats are at right now, violent rhetoric and trying to be accelerationists. What's going to happen? I don't know, but this is important because this was the turning point. But just to prove to you that I'm not blowing smoke, here is our latest Epstein polling. Almost 1,200 U.S. likely voters conducted July 8th through July 10th. So last week, as all of this stuff really was playing out, but after the announcement. And so I suspect the numbers might even be worse right now after people had a chance to stew on it all weekend. How closely have you followed recent news reports about Jeffrey Epstein? And people aren't following super close, but it's also the summer. 21% very closely, 31% somewhat closely. Republicans are following it more closely than everybody else, but people are following it pretty flat across the board, roughly 50 to 60%. And this one as well. In 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges and was later found dead in his jail cell. Which is more likely, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide or Jeffrey Epstein was murdered? And now, the last time we did this, a majority, 52%, said Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, 21% said he committed suicide. So these numbers are a reversal back in the other direction, but still a plurality of US likely voters say that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. And this is after pretty much the Trump administration came out and directly said that he committed suicide because of the video evidence. People are not buying it, although some people did. Only 23% of Republicans thought Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide last time. It's up to 1/3 now. But again, the administration said, nothing to see here. Trust me, bro. Republicans are not fully buying it. Half of them think he was murdered. And then this question is just absolutely mind melting. The FBI and the Federal Department of Justice have recently concluded an investigation which found that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and that Epstein did not keep a client list of men involved in his sex trafficking operation. Do you believe the FBI and the Department of Justice are telling the truth about Epstein? Only 21% say yes. Donald Trump won the country with half the vote, 50%, but only 21% trust his government that Epstein killed himself and did not keep a client list. 56% say no. That's the problem here. It does not matter the reality. It matters that Joe Biden lost the public trust in the FBI, and this type of optics is not regaining it. 56% of the country, almost 6 in 10 voters, say, no, I do not believe the FBI, the DOJ. This will not restore public trust. The FBI needs to do its job and investigate. And I'm not calling out the individual agents. This is a PR problem. This is a leadership and strategy problem. 21% of Democrats trust the Trump administration, only 27% of Republicans. Republicans are not buying this. People can say that this is fake. People like me are trying to undermine the movement. I'm just giving you data here. What I'm saying is that overwhelmingly Republicans say that no, they're not telling the truth about Epstein. And independents. Again, independents are like mostly the people in the middle that you need to win over. Only 15% trust the FBI and DOJ. 55% don't. It's across the board, bipartisan, but this one is wild. They said case closed. They said it's over. But according to voters, it is not. Which is closer to your opinion? The Epstein case is now closed, 16%. 16%. How about this one? There are dozens of powerful and wealthy offenders who need to face justice, 68%. 68%. That 68% number is massive. It's even bigger than support for mass deportations. We're getting into like paper ballots and voter ID and election audit level. We're getting into e-verify levels. People overwhelmingly say no, this case is not closed. We have not heard the last of it. The public needs to know. 68% of Democrats, 66% of Republicans, 69% of independents across the board. Look, every gender, age, race, everyone. By education, I bet. Look, 13% of liberals, case closed. 22% of conservatives, they agree. There's complete and utter agreement. I don't think there's a single number out here over 20%. Look, Trump strong approvers and Trump strong disapprovers. These are the MAGA people. Trump strong approvers. Only 24% say the Epstein case is now closed. 63% want dozens of powerful and wealthy offenders who need to face justice. And look at the strong disapprovers. These people worship the federal government. They hate Trump. They listen to everything on mainstream media and believe it. And only 9% say the case is closed. 76% want powerful and wealthy offenders to face justice. Now, of course, they probably think Trump is one of them. Look, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump voters, exactly the same practically. This is not going away. This is bipartisan support for accountability for the people who everyone thinks is ruling our kleptocracy. So I'm not going to stop talking about this. The Trump administration needs to reverse course and acknowledge the fact that the public is absolutely inflamed right now. The whole reason Trump got into office was for the government to face accountability for the overreaches of the Uniparty and the Biden administration. That's where we're at. And listen, if they're going to cave on Epstein, what's next? Big Pharma? What's next? Are we not going to find out about Matt Crooks in Pennsylvania and Butler? Or what are we not going to find out about? Pretty much everything? I don't know. They need to come out and signal that things are going to head in the right direction, or this potentially could be Trump's Waterloo. Listen, a lot of people trust Trump. His numbers are probably going to stay high. They were low, I'll tell you, they were low in 22 and 23 after his defeat after January 6th. They were not that high. His favorability among Republicans, I think, even dropped below 70%. Maybe that's his floor here. Maybe that's how low he'll get. That'll put him probably in the low 40s of an approval rating. And if he kicks around at 44, 45, 46, okay, that puts him in Biden administration territory. Maybe he'll get stuff done. Maybe he will not have lost all of his political capital. But what happens in 26? This is the question everybody should be asking now. Because as we've talked about it on our show, there are a host of establishment Republican scumbags licking their chops for the day that Donald Trump loses his political capital. And so if you're interested in this movement at all, you need to be looking around right now, trying to figure out what the right thing to post on the internet is. And it's probably not nothing to see here, folks. If you've learned something, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Follow us on X at Rasmussen_poll and myself at Honest Pollster. You can watch our videos on YouTube at Rasmussen_poll and Rasmussen_rewind and on Rumble at Rasmussen Reports. We stream multiple times a week on Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Getter. Thanks for watching.